Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget, I'm also now on Instagram, Movies TV Mad X, bite-sized videos on there, bite-sized videos on Twitter every single day. I don't know if anyone's going to come in for this video. We have one viewer. Is he a floater? Is he going to stay? No, he left. That's very, very sad. I will continue. Now, you all keep on going, Mick, when are you going to do lives? When are you going to do lives? And if no one comes in for this video tonight, this will be it. I'm telling you. So, God help any of you who ever asked me to do a live again. If no one's coming in for this live, no one is required to come into my lives. I don't have the divine right for anyone to come into my lives. But you keep on asking me for lives. I'm doing a live right now. So, no one's coming in. No one's here at this moment in time. We will see if anyone comes in. If you don't, I'm not doing one again. Anyway, we're going to continue this show with nobody watching. Maybe people will re-watch this. Kal-El, good evening, Mick. Hello, Kal-El. It's weird. You've just said hello to me, but there's no one on there. That's really, really weird. Hello, Cal. So let's start the show. So your headlines today are that J.J. Abrams, there you are, the like, thank you. J.J. Abrams, Mindy Kaling, and Greg Berlanti have had their first look WB deals suspended. I'm extremely happy that these extremists won't be there anymore. Well done, David Zaslav. Kal-El, I hit the like. Thank you, Kal-El. I'm very, very, very grateful to you. Always grateful for your support. You come in all the time. You're one of my top boys, and it's great. Now, is anyone a Star Wars fan? Has anyone been watching Ahsoka? It hasn't had the greatest of ratings, but spoiler alert, Anakin Skywalker cameoed at the end of episode 4. Listen, I'm a big fan of George's 6 movies of Clone Wars and Rebels. Kal-El, J.J. Abrams just pulled off the biggest hustle ever, paid for nothing. It was an outrageous deal by Toby Emmerich from the beginning. Listen, let me tell you my view on J.J. Abrams. I love J.J. Abrams for Lost, Alias, and Fringe, and all the stuff he did on television, right? And I like Star Trek 2009. I know a lot of Trekkies will not agree with me on there, and that's absolutely fine. I was excited for JJ to come in. I knew he was a big Superman fan. I wanted him to write and direct the Superman movie. Then he got involved with Ta-Nehisi Coates and this black Superman thing, and that was all about distracting. That's when they fired Cavill the previous time, and they wanted to replace Cavill with a black Superman in an Elseworld. Absolutely outrageous. You want to do President Superman, you want to do Val-Zod, I'm happy with that. But a black Clark Kent, never. I was never on board on that. Many black people were also not on board on that. We're all on board for Val-Zod. We're all on board for President Superman. That's great. Do it all. Have them standing there. But you're right, Cal. An absolute hustle. Emmerich paid him a load of money. He was going to be doing lots of things in the DC universe, though. He was going to do a Zatanna show, which would have been interesting. But, of course, it was all going to be very, very extremist, all very inclusive. And what they're doing is they're using these strikes as an excuse to suspend these first look deals. The motivation of what's going on for the studios is, and why they're not dealing with the unions, is because they want to drive out these creatively bankrupt people, these extremists, and it's great. John, hey Mick. John, are you a Star Wars fan? So what do you think of the whole Anakin Skywalker cameo? So as I say, love George's 6 movies, love Rebels, love Clone Wars, but translating and continuing those animated shows to live action is very problematic. Rosario Dawson is not Ahsoka for me. Ashley Ecclestein is Ahsoka. I don't feel that Rosario is Ahsoka. I love Rosario. Great girl, great performer, but she isn't Ahsoka. So seeing that cameo really doesn't do anything for me. And this is the problem with New Hollywood. They don't develop characters. They don't develop storylines. They go, let's throw a cameo in there. That'll make them forget that what we're giving them is a piece of shit. And that's the problem here. Once they rejected George's sequel trilogy, they should have did what Zack suggested to them. New worlds, new characters. That would have been epic. Also, with Killer of the Flower Moon having a full cinematic release, I think Rebel Moon over on Netflix deserves the same thing. I definitely think if Netflix don't give Rebel Moon a full cinematic release and then put it on Netflix afterwards, they'll be making a big mistake. The future of streaming is catch-up. Basically, first look on streaming is no longer going to work. The future is cinema. But obviously, with these strikes, there's not a lot going on. It's a very weird time, isn't it, to be a fan of entertainment, because these strikes could go on for the next 12 months. I want everyone to understand that these strikes could go on for a very long time, because the studios don't seem that motivated to deal with the unions, because that's what I'm saying. They're using this as an excuse to drive out all the bad people, all the creatively bankrupt people. So I don't see them coming back from the strikes anytime soon. The unions are not going to go back on their demands. The unions think they're going to get what they want. They think they've got the studios over a barrel, but they haven't. The studios are quite happy for this to go ahead until they drive these people out. And I think we're looking at a big change in Hollywood. Things are going to change big time. John, I only like New Hope, Empire and Jedi and Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith is great. But yeah, I love George's 6 movies, I'll be honest. And I love the Clone Wars and I love Rebels. I don't like Disney Star Wars. I saw that ending with the Anakin cameo, but I haven't been following the show. I haven't been watching Disney Star Wars for a very long time. I'm not interested. You know, and I know what's going to happen in episode 5. It's obvious what's going to happen in episode 5 of Ahsoka, right? Anakin's going to basically beg for mercy. Man bad. She's right. He's wrong. And it's always the same. So it's been a very interesting time to be James Gunn. I don't know if you've noticed this, but James doesn't seem to go on Twitter anymore. You can hardly blame him, can you? With what's been going on. I know he goes on threads, and I think he's avoiding Twitter. He goes on Instagram as well, but for obvious reasons, Twitter isn't a friendly place for James Gunn. There was the whole Facebook thing where he claims that he was hacked as well. Who knows if he was hacked or not? I'll tell you who could actually verify whether he was hacked or not, and that would be Facebook themselves. And that would be an interesting situation, wouldn't it? Maybe Facebook come out and confirm that he was hacked, or maybe they say that, well, you know, that they didn't send him that message that he claims that was sent. It's very, very interesting. If someone hacked his account and put that bullshit on, it's pathetic, it's ridiculous. But James Gunn hasn't covered himself in clover. Because as I said many times, James Gunn is no CEO. He's a capable writer-director. He ain't a CEO. And he's making a pig's ear of being a CEO. And it's clear now, the only reason he's been interfering with these DCEU movies is because Zaslav told him to. Not because he's trying to work in his new universe within it. As I said yesterday, the DCU will be a full reboot. They only told you it wasn't a full reboot because they wanted to make you think it was all connected so you could go to cinemas and watch these DCEU movies. But the consumer is a lot smarter than they give us credit for. And we knew that these movies meant jack shit. And it looks like they are going to release Aquaman and The Lost Kingdom. Absolute waste of time. A lot of the hype will start, all the crap will start, obviously. There's not many things to release because of the strikes. So Aquaman and The Lost Kingdom will be coming this December, it looks like. So it'll be very interesting to see the changes they've made to it since I saw the early test screening. But it isn't going to make money. It isn't going to work out for them. But I can see the hype, and I can see them doing the usual stuff that they do and saying the usual shit that they say. But there's no question. In no reality does Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom make any money. There's the Amber Heard situation, but there's a lot of other situations as well. There's got to be specific reasons why these DCEU movies have flopped so badly. Because Man of Steel didn't flop, BVS didn't flop, the Snyder Cut did really well on hard copy and on HBO Max. Wonder Woman was a success. Even the first Suicide Squad, which had bad reviews, was actually quite successful in terms of the box office. Aquaman made $1 billion. Shazam made bank, but it didn't really make a lot of money. It only made bank because it was on a low budget. And since after Shazam, they've been flopping back to back to back. John, Wonka will do better than Aquaman 2. I have no doubt of that. I mean, Wonka will be Wonka's a huge character, isn't he? Roald Dahl. I loved reading Charlie and the Chocolate Factory as a kid. So that's not really something where I say, that's really bad because Wonka did better than that. Really, Wonka should do better than Aquaman. Wonka's a huge story. It's iconic. Whether it's going to be any good or not, that's another thing, and we'll have to wait and see. I am looking forward to Wonka, definitely more than Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Should be a good film. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how well Wonka does, by the way. Obviously, WB have done really well with Barbie. It's really their only hit of the year. And we'll see, obviously June 2 has been delayed till next year because they need to hold movies back with these strikes. It's like we're back in COVID times where they're delaying stuff. And, Hollywood, this Hollywood, new Hollywood, woke Hollywood is burning to the ground. And I believe because they're losing so much money, this is what the corporates want. They want it to burn to the ground. They want to drive out many people who are in the industry right now so they can build it back up. And I think after the strikes, things will be very, very different. There'll be an admission that streaming wasn't the thing they should have invested in. Theatrical should have been the thing that they invested in. So it's going to be very interesting. Rolo, hey Mick, hello Rolo. Bring me up to speed with this first look deal thing. Right. And so what happens in the industry, certain creatives get first look deals. So what happens is, they pitch stuff, and if the pitch is accepted, they get it. If they see a script at the studio that they like, they get first look. That's what it means. Anyway, we all know that J.J. Abrams was given a huge deal by Toby Emmerich when he was running Warner Brothers Pictures. Well, in terms of television, J.J. Abrams' first look deal has been suspended by David Zaslav. Mindy Kaling's first look deal has been suspended by David Zaslav. And an even bigger one, Greg Berlanti, who's been at WB for many years, who was responsible for the Arrowverse, warts and all, has also had his first look deal suspended. Zaslav never liked those people. And, it's interesting considering Mindy Kaling was behind the Scooby-Doo series, right? Velma, right? Which was a woke piece of shit. Now, there was rumors there was going to be a series 2. Can't see that happening now. Things are going to change. As I say, this is why the studios are not ready to do a deal with these people. They're just going to stay there until these people can't afford to work in the industry anymore. They're just going to drive them out. They're just going to wait them out. That's what they're going to do. So what we're seeing is a studio, or should I say an industry, that's being allowed to burn to the ground so they can build it back up again. In a lot of ways, for us fans and consumers, that's a very, very exciting realization. John, Blue Beetle is coming out on digital on September the 19th. John, listen, that tells you what a disaster it was. They're all coming out so quickly, aren't they? They come out quickly on digital anyway, but this is super fast. So you got Blue Beetle came out really fast. The Flash, really fast. Shazam, Fury of the Gods came out really, really fast. I think they should just release Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom on digital and hard copy now. They'd probably make more money on the hard copies and the digital sales than they will marketing it, because it costs so much money to market these movies. Why they're actually releasing Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom? Well, you know what I think? None of these movies, none of these DCEU movies should have been released. Rolo, do you think studios are going to blacklist the woke creators when the strike is over? Yes, that's what I'm trying to say, Rolo. Not just blacklist them. What they're doing right now is waiting them out and wait them out until they quit, driving them out. They want rid of them. Now, publicly, they're all about inclusion and representation and wokeness, but privately, these people have driven the industry into the ground. They listen to these people. And now they're on the verge of receivership. Not just WB, Disney are in a worse position than WB, by the way. So yes, Rolo, they want them out. They want rid of them. And this is what's going on. As Nerdrodic calls it, it's a purge. It's a purge of this industry, and they're going to drive them all out. Leo Perica, hey brother, how you doing? Thank you for coming on. If you haven't liked the video, please like the video. I'm here to serve you. I'm here to debate. I'm here to answer your questions, to have convos about entertainment. Kalel, will the new season of Superman and Lois still be produced by Berlanti? Well, it probably will be produced by Berlanti Productions, and obviously Todd Helbing will still be the showrunner. But yeah, I mean, look, you never know. They could reverse. Look, they reversed the return of Henry Cavill. They could easily reverse the green light for the next season of Superman and Lois. Would be a shame, because I like that show. John, Barbie and Super Mario Brothers movie made the most money this year. They did, John, because they're just individual movies that people went and enjoyed. Now, Barbie's not for me. We know there was a lot of extremism and hatred towards men in that film, but people went and enjoyed it. It's not about watching 6 movies and knowing what happened last time. People went there and enjoyed it. And I mean, you know, Oppenheimer made a lot more money than any of us thought it would make. John, Asthmatic, start with purging narcissistic Gunn. Well, the problem is, Asthmatic, he was brought in by David Zaslav. So, look, I don't know what the future holds for James Gunn. That's a very interesting thing. Look, these people are very, very fickle. They change their minds very, very quickly, especially these days. Who could have seen that Zaslav was going to shelve Batgirl without telling the people who made it before he shelved it? You know, so it's a very unpredictable time. Look, Zaslav isn't here to build a brand new future for Warner Brothers. He's just here to cut costs until they can sell it, hopefully to Apple next year, which I think is exactly what's going to happen. But Zaslav isn't here to build a brand new future. Gunn is there to say to a prospective buyer, look, we've got CEOs of the DC studios. We're worth buying. So I don't know how much of a plan they have and how much intentions they have on rolling on Superman Legacy and creating this DC universe they're claiming they're going to do. Rolo, Gunn doesn't make woke content. He's not going anywhere. Look, as far as we know, James Gunn isn't going anywhere. He is a little bit woke, yes. He turns male characters into simpering idiots. So, but he's very, very crafty in the way he does it. He's woke. Not as bad as the others, though. John, I thought Mission Impossible would have made a lot more money. The only reason it didn't make more money, John, is because it was released just before Barbie, and it was sandwiched in between Barbie and Oppenheimer. It didn't stand a chance, but it still made 500, 600 million, I think. That's still not bad. You know, everyone kind of calls a film a disaster if it doesn't make $1 billion, which isn't fair. I don't believe it cost the amount of money they're claiming it did. But look, these Mission Impossible films, I think the problem is, because of Top Gun Maverick making so much money, people made an assumption that this film was going to make loads of money. But Mission Impossible films do well, but they don't ever make record-breaking money. They just chug along. So really, it's not much of a surprise that the box office for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning didn't make as much money as maybe people thought it would. People made the assumption, oh, Tom Cruise, Top Gun Maverick, this is going to make lots of money. But if you look back at the Mission Impossible movies, they don't really make record-breaking money. It's just a solid franchise that does okay. And the box office is not a disaster. We're not talking about Flash money. We're not talking about Blue Beetle money. The movie did okay, you know, and it was never going to be able to challenge Oppenheimer and Barbie, never. But I think it had a solid box office and a very good film. I expect Dead Reckoning Part 2 to be a bigger movie, and I think more people will go out and see it, because this could be the conclusion, of course, of the Mission Impossible saga. Nobody really knows. But yeah, so not everything can make $1 billion. Doesn't mean it's a flop. Rolo, do you think streaming will replace TV because the subscriptions are cheaper? No, Rolo. This is exactly what I've been trying to explain. There's no money in streaming. Studios saw what Netflix were doing and they thought, that's the future. We're going to replace television and cinema with streaming. They invested billions upon billions, and now this is part of the reason they're on the verge of bankruptcy and receivership. There's no money. Apart from the subscriptions, there's no money. There's more money in network television and in cable. Why? Because it's commercial, because of sponsorships and advertising. In fact, I'm hearing cable viewers are going up and streaming subscriptions are going down. The future of streaming is just catch up. Streaming a few this, few that, but it isn't the future. Netflix will keep on doing what they're doing. You're seeing with Apple, you know, with the films they're making and, you know, Killers of the Flower Moon getting a general release. That's the future. Released streamers are going to release, because what's funny now, studios tried to replace the theatre with streaming. Now the streamers are trying to get into cinema. The irony of that isn't lost on me. And so what you're actually going to see is that Apple is going to release things first in cinema, then put them on their streaming service. So the streaming service will be secondary. So no, Rolo, streaming isn't replacing cinema or television. Rolo, but what about ad tiers on streaming? Ad tiers on streaming will never make the same money as network television and cable. Let me explain to you why. People are too used to watching streaming with no ads. And a lot of people won't pay to see ads. That's the beauty of streaming, that we don't have to put up with the ads. So it's not going to work. Streaming isn't the future. We're going back to the natural order of things: cable, television, and the movie theatre. And even streamers like Apple can see that. I mean, Paramount Plus are putting their subscriptions up. Why? You've got nothing on there worth paying for. And that's the problem. Kal, streaming services are ridiculously expensive. They're ridiculously expensive, Cal. And also, after you've watched a few things, there's nothing to watch. But with television, TV has a schedule. TV has your favorite programs on, right? You come in for certain things. It's appointment television. Look, for me personally, there's no money. For me, the way I look at it, and the studio's got it wrong, there's no money in streaming, because what a lot of people don't understand is, if you go to the movie theatre, it's pay-per-view. If you release a movie on streaming, they don't make money every time you watch the movie. They make money off your subscription. You can watch something as many times, but they're not going to make extra money, because streaming isn't pay-per-view. And nobody is ever going to accept pay-per-view on streaming. So it's dead. All it's going to be good for is a catch-up service, and for the streamers' movies, once they come out of cinemas, to be on the services. That's the future. But the money they thought they were going to make on streaming, they're not going to make. They never were. So, Rolo, I don't think streaming's going to replace anything. That's gone. That's what studios thought. That's what a lot of us thought. But when you look at it, when you actually analyze streaming and how they make money, the money isn't there. Because when they say, oh, 100,000 people watched the film, it doesn't matter. Let me tell you why it doesn't matter. because they don't make money every time you watch a TV episode or a movie. So the only thing it matters if you're going to give a sequel for a movie because it had a lot of views, or give a second season, another season to a show because it had a lot of views. But there's no money. It's not pay-per-view. The money isn't there. It just isn't there in streaming. And now they realize it. They're even moaning about it right now. You know, they saw Netflix and they thought they'd take advantage of it. They invested a bunch of money. Basically, studios have bankrupted themselves on streaming. Rolo, do you think the studios will keep the streaming services then? I think they'll change the elements of the streaming services as a second tier catch-up service. But slowly but surely, you will see these streaming services roll up. I think the only one that's definitely going to survive is Netflix. Netflix will always be there because Netflix was always a kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Something else, right? It wasn't supposed to replace movie theaters. It was supposed to be another option while you're at home. It was supposed to replace the video rental, the blockbuster thing. It was never meant to replace television. It was never meant to replace the movie theater. And studios and the corporate Hollywood entity got greedy and they thought this was their opportunity. And they tried to take advantage of that, of course, during COVID, and it didn't work. Asthmatic, wait till the next pandemic that will boost the streaming numbers. Yes, asthmatic, but the problem is that's just temporary. It doesn't matter. You can boost something temporarily, but there's no future. So unless you know a chemist who can infect us with something for all time, that is not going to work. There's no future in streaming, not the way it is. Fine for Netflix, fine for Prime Video. But these studios were looking to make money. And the only way studios can make money from streaming is if they do pay-per-view. And no one is ever not going to go to the cinema and pay per view to see a movie. So there's no money in it. So it's going to change. But I think the way you see streaming services now, HBO Max, Disney Plus, because they're not getting the subs. They're not getting the footfall. It's not working. John, no one wanted the DC Studios job before Gunn. Well, you're right, because Todd Phillips was offered it, Matt Reeves was offered it. They said no, but they're not the type of blokes you offer those jobs to anyway. Why would you be offering a CEO of a studio job to a director? They didn't even go to experienced DC Comics people or, people who understand the business side of the business. Gunn doesn't understand the business side of, he's a showrunner. That's why he's co-CEO. Safran's the one who's going to be doing the business side. I mean, Gunn really isn't even a CEO of this studio. He's not Todd Phillips' boss. He's not Matt Reeves' boss. Not really. They just do whatever the fuck they want. So it's a weird title they gave him. But you're right. He's the only idiot who took the job, and it's a thankless task. If you can come in and do whatever you want with DC, it's a great gig. If I was given that job and I could do whatever I wanted and I could get away from the DCEU and do what I wanted and start again, it's a great gig, right? And I can have people moaning at me through my ears, I'll restore the Snyderverse, do this, do that. I'm starting again. I love the Snyderverse, but I am starting again from scratch, and I'm ignoring all the noise. I'm bringing in Bruce Timm, baby. Me and Bruce Timm are going to be developing an exciting new universe. We ain't going to be listening to all the noise anymore. DC deserves to make the best movies. DC, deserves the best cinematic universe, and one that makes bloody money as well. And I'm not just talking about a little bit of money. I'm talking about real money. Because we've spoken about the Snyderverse box office before, but because Zack's movies are so expensive, you can't, having a movie make $650 isn't enough. Having a movie making $850, because BVS was even more expensive to make than Man of Steel. So those movies really need to make a lot of money. What they could have done, instead of driving Zack out, they could have said, you know what, Zack, your movies ain't making enough with the amount they cost. They could have cut his budget. which really could have been a compromise and could have worked. John, as long as James Gunn does not mess with Joker 2 and the Batman 2, he won't. He can't. They're the ones Zaslav believes in the most. Zaslav knows. That's why he went to Matt Reeves and Todd Phillips to run DC Studios. But there's no way. Todd Phillips is a movie maker. He's a private guy. He's on Instagram. He ain't on Twitter. He's not interested in all that bullshit. Nor is Matt Reeves. Those guys are factory workers. Those guys are artists. They just want to make their shit. They're not interested in their ego like Gunn is. But basically, James cannot interfere. As I've already explained to you, he's not their boss. They're there. They can do whatever the hell they want. He's probably never spoken to Todd Phillips in his life before. Todd Phillips probably refuses to talk to him, knowing Todd Phillips. Kal-El, once the Batman and Joker films are completed, is that the end of Elseworlds? Well, that's a very, very good question. Obviously, look, the situation is this. The Batman 2 can't start shooting until after the strike. So that's probably going to be delayed anyway. Now, the Joker is ready. We should be getting a trailer for Joker 2, Joker Follow Your Do, in October, from what I'm being told, maybe even sometime this month. Who knows? So Joker's happening. Joker's ready to roll. It's in the can, as we say in the business. So Joker's not a problem. When they release it, hopefully it will be next October. I can't see why not. So that's an exciting movie. But that's a good question, Cal. What would be done? Is Elseworlds a real thing, or was it just a place they could dump two films that are not part of DCEU or DCU? Because they're not looking. There's nothing been announced for DC Elseworlds, right? Which is an interesting situation. So it may be the case that DC Elseworlds is just a place, because there are rumors that the Batman 2 will be the last of Matt Reeves' stuff. But then there's other rumors saying that there are big plans for the Batman cinematic universe. In fact, they'd probably be better off dumping Gunn's plan and just allowing Matt Reeves and Todd Phillips to develop their Rolo, DC Elseworlds. Kal-El, I think it's the latter. Elseworlds will disappear, much like DC Black Label. Well, no, actually. DC Black Label hasn't disappeared, Cal, because it's still there. Joker 2's happening. Listen, Cal, it's all about money. If Joker Follow Your Do makes another $1 billion or something else, then the Black Label will continue. We've had one Black Label film. We're getting a second Black Label film. The first film was a Joker movie. The second film is going to be a Harley Quinn movie. So what Todd suggested from the very beginning is actually happening. But these are things that were greenlit by Emmerich a long time ago. All the stuff you're seeing wasn't greenlit by Zaslav, was greenlit by the previous regime. So Zaslav's leadership and regime doesn't really seem to have any plans apart from rolling out what's already been greenlit. Rolo, we don't need two cinematic universes at the same time. Well, dump James Gunn's then. John, is the Arkham series still happening? Well, it's supposed to be, but I don't know, because nothing's happened. Look, we're on a strike. Nothing can happen. Nothing can be greenlit. But according to Matt Reeves, it's still happening. We will see. I hope so, because it's very exciting. That's the stuff I'm interested in. The Batman universe from Matt Reeves, the Black Label universe from Todd Phillips. They're the things that get me excited. Gunn's plans, although they sound interesting, they just seem like titles. Nothing seems to be solid. As we know, there's no script for the Brave and the Bold movie. There's only a director, and I still don't think Machete will end up directing Brave and the Bold. That was just bullshit to try and get some hype for the release of the Flash movie. More lies, just like bringing Cavill back, but not bringing Cavill back. That was a lie as well, as far as I'm concerned. But we'll see. The problem is this strike's going to go on for a very, very long time. So nothing can happen because you've got a strike from writers on strike, and even worse, the actors are on strike. So you can't even start filming the stuff that's already been written. So basically, with these two unions striking, there's nothing going on. And the studios seem quite happy for it to burn to the ground, as I said earlier, so they can rebuild it again. So the people who get hurt really are us, the fans, who love this shit, who are excited for this shit. So what you're going to see is a lot of projects you're hearing are happening won't happen. A lot of stuff you think is going to happen won't happen, or will happen differently than we first thought. The one I'm interested in, of course, is the MCU. I think big changes will be happening at Marvel Studios by the end of this year. I predicted at the beginning of this year, by the end of this year, Kevin Feige will no longer be the president of Marvel Studios. And I believe that. I genuinely believe that, because he's boxed himself in a corner. They're fucked. They can't make any money. The Marvels, even if the Marvels was to make 600 million, that's shit. This was a franchise making $1 billion a movie with hype behind each movie. So it's very difficult to ask questions whether this is happening or that's happening, because we're in a strike. Basically, let me tell you what's going on in Hollywood. There's a traffic jam and no cars are moving forward. And I think that's the issue here. And nobody knows. I mean, that Aaron Fisher geezer was saying that the strikes will be over by January. You don't know. We can hazard a guess, right, when the strikes will be over. I said December. But now I'm thinking they're going to go on longer than that. It's looking like a disaster. That, you know, SAG-AFTRA and the WGA are looking for the government to intervene to give them insurance money, because there's lots of low-key actors and writers who don't make a lot of money, because they don't all earn hundreds of millions and millions. There's a lot of, you know, actors who play small roles. You know, no actor can work. And acting is a very difficult career, because it's very difficult to get work. Not everyone gets work. You go to auditions, you hope for the best, and most actors don't even get to work nearly ever. That's the kind of career it is. And most actors have got second full-time jobs or even part-time jobs, because that's what it is. There's no guarantees in the entertainment industry unless you're related to someone, have a certain bloodline, as we can see. But right now we are in a traffic jam and we've halted. Nothing can happen without these strikes being finished. And I think we could have a historic record of how long these strikes are going to go on for, because this is not just about people being after more money. This is about studios realizing that the way they've been running this industry has to change. And the only way it can change is if they replace the people they have now with better people. So you see, you could get rid of Bob Iger and David Zaslav. That doesn't make any difference. Whatever CEO you bring in is going to be making a lot of money. I see SAG-AFTRA and the WGA going, well, David Zaslav's making all this money but laying people off. Well, welcome to the real world. That's capitalism, right? Of course he's going to get big money. He isn't going to give himself a small paycheck. That's the reality. Kal-El, if your mummy or daddy is in the business, you'll get the jobs. Yeah, your mummy, your daddy, if you've got a certain surname, you know, if you've got a certain, you know, DNA, that's Hollywood. Hollywood keep on going on about inclusion and representation. But let me be clear, from someone who grew up around this industry, they fucking hate outsiders. And they hate people like us telling them how they should be running their business. They hate outsiders. They hate AT&T. AT&T has still got a majority stake in Warner Brothers. Discovery don't have a majority stake. It's a weird situation where they did this merger, gave Discovery a little slice of the cherry because they were desperate for someone to come in and save their bacons and cut costs, because AT&T fucked WB up from their incompetence, their lack of experience in scripted entertainment. So they went and brought someone in like Zaslav, who also had no experience in scripted entertainment. And he's gone in there with his size 9s. He's spoken a good game, you know, protecting the DC brand. Well, you're not, David, are you? You're not protecting the DC brand. You said you were when you shelved Batgirl, but you should have shelved all these DCEU movies if you were trying to protect the DC brand. So you haven't protected the DC brand. In fact, you've made a bad situation even worse. James Gunn, before he's even started shooting his first movie, has made a bad situation even worse. You know, he came in, he said, oh, this is so bad and we're going to make it better. James Gunn is, look, James Gunn's there because Zaslav thought he was a popular influencer who could sell these movies. What's going to happen by the end of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom when James Gunn failed to do the thing Zaslav brought him in to do? Zaslav thought he was bringing in someone who's very popular with the fans. Well, that's not true. If I'm so far from the truth, where were James Gunn's fans to go and see Shazam! Fury of the Gods? Where were James Gunn's fans to see the Flash movie? Where were James Gunn's fans to go and see Blue Beetle? Him and Saffron were standing at the premiere. Where were all these James Gunn fans? He told them to go and see the movies. Where are his fans? But it's the same with Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder spoke about representation mattering, and he was going to go with his kid to see Blue Beetle, which that whole post, that was just weird from Zack. I don't know if someone told him to do that, someone promised him something. I don't know what all that was about, but I can tell you something, it didn't work. What's happening now is that people are not listening to Rotten Tomatoes or to influencers or critics anymore. They're not listening when they say, go and watch this movie, it's good. We don't trust them. Even when it's Zack Snyder, someone I do trust. I still wouldn't go and see a movie because Zack Snyder told me to, because ultimately I know what's going to be good and bad. So I saw an early screening of Blue Beetle and I was bored. I would never go and watch that film again. I've stopped collecting DC movies now. I won't collect. I'll definitely buy Joker for do, unless by some shock it's not a good movie, but it will be, right? I'm definitely going to buy the Batman 2, but I'm not going to buy Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I've got Black Adam. That was the last DC movie I bought. I've got it on digital and physical because I really like the movie. I've got the soundtrack, listen to it all the time. But I don't like Shazam! Fury of the Gods. So I'm not buying anything. I'm not buying the film. I'm not buying Blue Beetle. I'm not buying The Flash. And unless Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is a great movie, I won't be buying that either because I don't know what version they're going to give us. Yes, I saw the test screening and early test screening. But from what I've been told, the movie I saw, what I'm going to see now is a totally different movie because James Gunn has been giving notes. He's giving notes to try and make the film make more money, not because it has some brilliant connection to the new DC universe. Asthmatic, Gunn shat on the DC brand when he introduced his shitty slate and axed Cavill, Affleck and Gadot. Well, we don't know about Gal. The Gal Gadot situation, you see, people who defend James Gunn, this is the problem, right? So he apparently axed Henry Cavill. I can tell you that the people at Warner Brothers who are supposed to have left never wanted Cavill to remain anyway. And there's an element at WB that never wanted him to stay anyway. But also what I've already said, Asthmatic, is that they were never bringing Cavill back anyway. That was a lie just to sell more Black Adam tickets, and it didn't work. But you're right what you say. You know, you say Gunn shat on the DC brand when he introduced his shitty slate and axed Cavill, Affleck. Now, he didn't even axe Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck has been gone for a very long time, and we don't know what's going on with Gal Gadot. But Gunn has made a mess of a very messy situation. Kal-El, Gunn making changes to Aquaman 2. Wow, yes, he has. But those changes have been made for a long time. I mean, Hamada has made changes to that film. We started off with a Keaton cameo in Aquaman in the Lost Kingdom, something I saw in the first test screening. Then Keaton had to be cut from that movie because the order in which it was going to be released changed. So then they brought in Ben Affleck. That's the reason they brought in Ben Affleck for that film, not because they were restoring the Snyderverse. And now, as far as I know, there's no Ben Affleck in that movie or Michael Keaton in that movie. He hasn't got a Batman ready. So if this is part of the new DCU, that would be a good idea. I'll tell you what's going to happen. Shall I tell you what Batman is going to be? Come on, first person to guess which actor will be playing Batman in Aquaman in the Lost Kingdom, right? I can't give you anything because I'm in Cyprus and I'm not sending you any shit, but I'll just give you a thumbs up and tell you how cool you are. Which actor will cameo as Batman, because we know there will be a Batman in there? Tell me. Kal-El, Gunn left Barry in the Clooneyverse. That's disrespectful. Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's fucking confusing. It's confusing, Cal. Because We now don't know. If you're just a normie, you don't know if George Clooney's Batman. We know he's not, unless he is, but most certainly he's not. But if you're a normie, you're confused. Was Barry there? Did Barry leave that reality, that Earth afterwards and go to the one he belonged in? We don't know. Nobody understands. That film should have clarified the future plans. Gunn said it would clarify it a little bit, and it just confused the situation even worse. Kal-El, Clooney again. Yes, George Clooney. Thumbs up, you're clever. George Clooney will probably cameo again. It's so predictable. Asthmatic, Chris Pratt. Wouldn't surprise me. Listen, I don't think Chris Pratt would make a... By the way, I know you're all going to kill me for this, but I don't think Chris Pratt would make a bad Batman. He's got the build. He's got the personality. I mean, he'll be weird. I mean, Chris Pratt started off as more of a comedy actor many years ago on television. Waz 007, my main man Waz. How are you doing tonight? Hi, Mick. Hello. I'm putting my aircon on because I'm getting hot. This is Movies TV Man. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Welcome to the live show. Thank you for coming in. Very, very grateful. I did a very short video today, pre-recorded one, because what I'm doing now is I'm doing bite-sized videos on Twitter and on my new Instagram account, Movies TV Man X. Waz 007, I'm good. Thanks, glad to hear it. Waz 007, real hot in England. Make the most of it. It isn't going to last. But here in Cyprus this weekend, we're getting 40 Celsius, which means the shit weather is coming to you. Is coming to you, yeah. Yeah, England can't handle good weather. Kal-El, if Gunn's cast is predominantly an ex-Marvel cast, that's unoriginal and also sends mixed messages to normies. Well, listen, this is Hollywood. They use the same actors all the time. But you've got a Marvel director. Because Gunn just works with the same people anyway. Gunn works with a very small bunch of people anyway. So basically, James Gunn is famous for working with his friends. So, as we know, he's bringing a friend of his to play Guy Gardner, Green Lantern. I mean, I don't have an issue with that because I think it'll be interesting to see Guy Gardner and Superman on screen together. But, Gunn works with his friends. That's always been the way. Waz 007, what Instagram ID can write ID in chat? Right, okay. I'll give it to you now. Bear with me. You know? But yeah, James Gunn just works with his friends. This is why he took the actor from Peacemaker to play the villain in Guardians Volume 3. He works with people he knows and he trusts. That's what he does. Waz 007, thanks, Mick. You're welcome. You're probably going to be my only follower because no one is following me on that at the moment. Very difficult when you start an Instagram or a Twitter or anything because it's very difficult to get noticed. Unless you're someone incredibly popular and incredibly famous, and that ain't me. How will my ego cope? So the thing that we love the most, entertainment, is halted. It's in trouble. It's crumbling to the ground. That's not our fault. That's not our responsibility. It's theirs. Empires are destroyed from within. If you know your English football, Manchester United, it's been destroyed from within. It was a great empire under Ferguson. He helped destroy that empire, by the way, what he did before he left. So empires, the MCU is an empire that was destroyed from within. If Feige did his due diligence and created a great Phase 4 and 5, Marvel would still be on top of the world. We'd be talking about how great the MCU is still. But empires are destroyed from within. It's via arrogance. Kal-El, I would like Warner Brothers Discovery to sell DC. if Discovery and Zaslav were there long term, I would agree with you. But I do expect Apple to buy WB, so hopefully that won't be a problem. But you're right. I would like DC to be an independent studio away from WB with someone very, very clever running them. Because right now, WB is run by the people who ran it into the ground many years ago, like Toby Emmerich. He's still there. Toby Emmerich actually never left WB. James Gunn was brought in to do the Suicide Squad by Hamada and Emmerich. He's on that side, the side that hated Snyder. He's on that side, and the fans understand that. That's why the fans despise Gunn. They're going for him. It's become so toxic with Gunn and the fans now. As I said earlier, he can't even come on Twitter anymore. Have you noticed him post anything on Twitter for the past 2 months? I don't think so. That Waz 007 Manchester was very popular in the 90s. Yes, we were amazing. I was watching the Treble DVD today. Waz 007, I hope Apple buy WB will be amazing. I think Apple, look, from what they've done with their streaming service, they understand. Put the right people in charge. Because, you know, Apple are a tech company, basically, right? They became huge, you know, because they were inventing these amazing phones. I mean, I've never had an iPhone and I don't wish to have one. But, yeah. But what they've done with their streaming services is, look, we don't know film. We don't know scripted entertainment. Let's bring someone in who knows what they're doing. And they're doing director-driven projects. So they're not interested in Disney. They're not interested in Star Wars or Marvel. 007, I've seen Cobra Kai. I watched the first episode. It was okay, but I was never motivated, Waz, to keep on watching it. I loved the Karate Kid movies growing up, but yeah, it's just not something I want to watch every week, unfortunately. It's not for me. I'm a bit of an old fart these days. I watch very few new things. I obviously love my DC. I love great movies. I always watch great movies, but I won't watch every single thing that's released. That's not the type of platform this is. Waz 007, The Karate Kid is a great film. Yeah, I love Karate Kid. I actually like Karate Kid 3 as well. Number 2's okay, but 1 and 3 are my favourites. I mean, look, I grew up, I don't know how old you all are, but I'm 50. So I grew up in a beautiful era. You know, I was born in 1972. I watched Superman the movie, Star Wars A New Hope, the James Bond franchise, Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, E.T. Then there's the TV was fantastic, even though they didn't get the budgets to do with TV what they do with streaming today. But we still got some great shows. And what you see today is when they try and reboot these shows, they don't understand the spirit. For example, they rebooted Quantum Leap. And yet again, we have Team Quantum Leap. We don't have an Al and a Sam. We have a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and we have this big group full of different, diverse people working there because they have to tick all the boxes. And that's all they care about. Waz 007, I'm 41 age, so you're 9 years younger than me, basically. Actually, interestingly enough, it's my birthday on October the 26th. I will be 51. How did I become 51? That's insane, isn't it? Damn insane. So we grew up with great movies because the intention was to make great entertainment. The attitude, the motto was, if we make great shit, then we'll make money. It's not rocket science, is it? If you sell me something that I'm going to enjoy, I like Coca-Cola, so I buy Coca-Cola. But if you start urinating in the Coca-Cola, I'm not going to buy it anymore. This is what's happened to entertainment. They used to have the motivation to make great stuff, but then they started urinating on entertainment. So entertainment has become the analogy of peeing in the Coca-Cola can. I don't want to taste piss. I want to see great movies. I want to be inspired. You're not inspiring me because we now are part of a polarizing society. And the entertainment industry has become as polarizing as the society we live in. It's like going on Twitter and hearing people being offended and arguing all the time. That's what's happened with entertainment. And people, like when we were growing up, we enjoyed our entertainment, but we didn't tape it. We weren't so deep about our entertainment. We watched something, we enjoyed it, we had a laugh, we had a cry, then we just moved on, right? But these days, people take their geek far too seriously and they're too deep with it. And it's like they treat it like it's their father or their mother. And that's the problem with entertainment and fandoms today. So I loved the stuff I watched as a kid, but I wouldn't argue. I wouldn't argue about a film when I was a kid with someone. I was very passionate. I loved Dallas. I loved Knots Landing. We watched The A-Team, Street Hawk, Knight Rider, Chips. But we wouldn't argue about these shows. We watched an episode, then we'd just chill out and eat a packet of crisps. Society has changed. There's nothing that society won't war over. And people take their entertainment these days far too seriously. It's too deep. Waz 007 Mick, have seen Indiana Jones 5? No. Waz 007 Mick, remember Blind Date? Number one, tell us about yourself. Well, Scylla, I'm a very suave, sexy man. Any girl's gonna be lucky to have me tonight. Woo! Yes, I remember Blind Date. It was actually shut down for fixing the dates. But I used to love Blind Date. That was fun. Scylla was a lovely lady. I loved Scylla Black. Great. She just had this charm. She was a singer. Started off as a singer. Surprise, surprise. Sundays for me was surprise, surprise, Heartbeat, Lovejoy. We just grew up in different times. Well, we were a lot more chilled about our entertainment. The problem is, right, when imagine being a writer or a director of a film, right? I'll get to the comments if you post anything. So imagine you're a writer, director of a film, right? So the studio green lights your vision, right? So you start to go to work. They say, right, we need a black character, an Asian character, a Chinese character, a Korean character. So they want you to come. And we want a gay character. But don't forget, you can't kill the gays. You can't make great entertainment on those parameters. And that's the problem. And that's what's happened to entertainment. A group of people who we used to pat on the head and give a cookie to and send down the shops when they said their shit and now running the world are setting the rules we live by. They want to build an oasis where everyone behaves perfectly and nobody is flawed and everyone even thinks perfectly. Basically, they're trying to create the Demolition Man world, right? If you swear, you get fine credits. You can't look at women. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't see women as sexual objects. Yeah, right. They see us as sexual objects. Well, probably not me, but, blokes that they fancy. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to change what human beings are and try to create a flawless society. That's why entertainment has gone down the toilet. It's all political. It's all very territorial. Fandoms have become very, very territorial. And that's a shame. So we can't enjoy movies anymore. We can't enjoy anything anymore because someone is going to find something to cause a war about. Someone is going to find something to be upset about. Waz 007, Mick, buy VHS player. I got rid of my VHSs and my player years ago. But, you can get anything on DVD and Blu-ray now anyway, so there's no need. But I would like to purchase a VHS player again. I used to have so many VHS movies recorded off the telly and original copies as well. I sold them down a boot sale because obviously I transferred to a DVD, then I transferred to Blu-ray, then I transferred to 4K. I've actually got Blu-rays and 4Ks. Sometimes I buy Blu-ray, sometimes I buy 4K. I don't always buy 4K because the Blu-rays are a lot cheaper now. And you don't need everything in 4K. I don't believe you do anyway. There's some films, right, you don't need to see in 4K because like the older films are not real in real 4K anyway. So there's no point in buying a film like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, which I adore, in 4K. There's actually no point. There's no point me owning JFK, another movie I love, in 4K. There is absolutely no point. So I recently bought the Dallas box set, the entire box set. I don't need to watch Dallas in 4K, not that it's available. I'm just giving you an example. There's some stuff you don't need to see in 4K. A talkie movie, you don't need, where they just talk, which I love, great dialogue, but you don't need to have that in 4K. I mean, it's about 25 quid to buy a movie in 4K. That's a lot of fucking money. And most times it's not worth it. I ain't buying the Flash movie for 25 quid on 4K. You have got to be joking. They're making bad stuff, but still selling it for full whack. They don't even have any acceptance that they need to put their prices down. I still got VHS tape on blind date. Oh, wow. Waz 007, sorry, I mean Mick. I just buy a new VHS player. Oh, really? Are they expensive? I did like Blind Date, though. That was a great fucking show. We had such great light entertainment as well. We had That's Life. We had Surprise, Surprise. We had Blind Date. We had quiz shows. We had great quiz shows like Bruce's Play Your Cards Right. The Price is Right. 3, 2, 1. Rolo, hey Mick, what happened with the Ahsoka cameo? Well, Anakin Skywalker cameoed at the end. My guess is in episode 5, which they're releasing in cinemas first, is going to be a two-hander between Anakin and Ahsoka, and I think they're going to bait and switch him and make him look like a bad bloke. We're going to see what they do. They may even bring Anakin back to life because he's not actually. They're in the place where you're either dead or alive. I think that's what happened because Ahsoka got pushed over a cliff or something. So I think there might be a part in episode 5 where she has the opportunity to bring him back. Now, I think it's very unlikely this would happen. But I think Star Wars fans would be very excited if Anakin was now alive. But also that takes away his sacrifice in Return of the Jedi. So lots of people would be happy and lots of people would be angry at the same time. Welcome to the world that we live in. Waz 007, I got a second-hand VHS player. Yeah, I imagine you can get them quite cheap. It's like the old vinyl players, isn't it? You can get them cheap. I've still got an old hi-fi, the ones that you built up, the stack systems. Great. We had some great stuff. Listen, I don't like to look at the past through rose-coloured glasses because we all had our challenges. Of course we did. But I remember, being with my friends and not seeing them or talking to them. There was no social media. Once we went home, we had the old landline phone, which we could communicate. We could write letters to each other, and that's it. It just shows you how much the world has changed. Has the internet ruined humanity and the human condition? Yes, it has. It's fucked us up. Rolo, why did it split the fan base? Well, it split the fan base because some people don't like the fact that they're using the Skywalkers just to milk the Skywalker saga. And the whole point is, my friend, once you reject George Lucas's sequel trilogy, you've got to move on. You've got to create new worlds and new characters and new stories. Instead of this, just continuing an animated universe. It doesn't work. Rosario Dawson isn't Ahsoka. Ashley Eccleston is. That's the issue I have with it. You've got to move on from the Skywalker saga. Waz 007, I enjoyed Power Rangers as a kid. Scott Edwards, are you caught up on Ahsoka? Yes, I am, my friend. Yes, I know everyone's excited about that cameo. I'm particularly not. As I say, once they rejected George's sequel trilogy, new characters, new worlds, new stories. Milking the Skywalker saga helps no one. Obviously, episode 5 will be the one to see. Obviously, it's going to be written and directed by Filoni. It's his world. He literally created Clone Wars. I mean, Clone Wars was George Lucas's baby. It was his brainchild, but the development of it was obviously Filoni. Scott Edwards, they can still do a solid story with Thrawn. Yeah, look, this is the thing for me, right? They won't Thrawn should have been the main villain. What they're trying to do is build up Thrawn. And so we see him maybe at the end of this series, and then he cameos here and there. And we won't see him fully, like a lot on screen, until they do the film. I see what they're doing. But the problem is, when you've got someone like Thrawn, you know, they're dragging it out on purpose. Just put him there. Skywalkers, I'm enjoying the Mandoverse. Skywalkers are there, but they're not the main focus. Well, I know, but you're just using them. You're just using them as bait. That's the problem. Why is 007 George Lucas' original different Star Wars Force Awakens? George Lucas had a sequel trilogy, but Bob Iger rejected it. He lied to George. If you sell it to us, we'll make your sequel trilogy. As soon as he sold it, they said, no, we won't be making your sequel trilogy, because Bob Iger is a... Sky Edwards, are you interested in the Mandoverse film? Well, we'll see what it is, my friend. If I hear it's good, if I see clips and I'm interested in it, if it's going to be more, you know, representation and inclusion and gal bosses, nah, I ain't interested. I want to see great storylines. I don't mind doing being inclusive casting, giving other people a chance, but at least pay them the respect to actually give them good storylines and great character development, which doesn't happen. So yeah, it's all a little bit messy. Right, guys, we're going to wrap things up here because I'm getting a little bit tired. It's been a long day. I've really enjoyed doing this live. Rolo, Dave Mike 2 movies or Kennedy is on her way out. Rolo, I've been hearing about Kennedy being on her way out from people and YouTubers and everyone for the past 5 years. I'll believe it when I see it. But even if she goes, what's the point? What's the point of her going? They're just going to get another person who's just as bad as her. They're not going to choose someone decent. Oh, you're trying to say, well, if Kennedy's on her way out, it'd be interesting what happens to Filoni's movies. Squadrons, Bo-Katan, Mando, and Ahsoka and Luke should be the lead heroes in the film. Was 007 any news on Bond? Nope, nothing. That's another franchise down the Shik's Creek. So I'm just going to enjoy the older movies and forget it. Because clearly they have. I don't think we're going to hear anything about Bond this year. And it's something that I predicted. Scott Edwards, do you agree with my choices? Well, yeah, I've got nothing against it, but it's all about the execution, the writing, the storytelling. Was 007, I hope Henry Cavill cast as Bond. Unlikely. Will we ever get a new Bond? I think we may be waiting many years before they even cast a new Bond. Scott Edwards, Kay Sackhoff is awesome actress. Rosario too. Yeah, they're great. For me, I've said it before, Scott. Rosario Dawson is a great actor. But she is an Ahsoka for me. Ashley Eccleston is. That's the problem. That's the issue I have. Was 007, do you think Indiana Jones get reboot in future? I think they should just leave Indiana Jones alone. So maybe one day when we're all dead and gone, they will reboot it. But rebooting it won't help it. They made 3 great movies. Leave it alone. They made 3 great Back to the Future movies. Leave it alone. They made 1 great E.T. movie. Leave it alone. They're rebooting The Crow. You ain't never, ever going to get close to that Brandon Lee movie. Ever. You're not capable. You're not capable because your motivations are not to make great entertainment. Leave it alone. Be original at the very least. Fuck up your own work. Right. Scott Edwards, I think we're going to see Bo-Katan, Mando and Luke in the Ahsoka series. You think so? I think it's a possibility, yeah, that they throw as many cameos as they can. Maybe not Bo-Katan as such, but I don't know. I think Luke, I think if you think about the one thing that would be massive for all Star Wars fans, even the ones that have lost hope with Disney Star Wars, is if Mark Hamill and Hayden Christensen end up on screen together. And from what we saw at the end, where they're at this no place, where you're not dead, but you're on the way from being dead, it could be that Luke Skywalker and his son, Anakin Skywalker and his son Luke come face to face. Now, of course, I'm remembering now that Luke's still alive in this stage of the Star Wars universe. So there could be either way, to have Mark Hamill and Hayden Christensen on screen together. So it's my belief, at the very least, that we'll see Mark Hamill and Hayden Christensen on screen together. We'll see Anakin and Luke on screen together. That's what I think we're going to get. So no, I don't think we're going to see Bo-Katan or Mando. Scott Edwards, I think Wonder Woman will cameo in Lost Kingdom. Well, probably, but it isn't exciting to me, Scott. I mean, her cameo in Fury of the Gods was shit. That's not the Wonder Woman I grew to love. And the cameo in the Flash movie was even worse. It was horrible. So that doesn't excite me. Scott Edwards, you like Bo-Katan? Yeah, she's all right. I mean, she's not one of my favourite characters. I don't dislike her. She's definitely not one of my favourite female characters I've ever seen in a film or a TV show. She doesn't make an impression on me. So I do not like her, but I'm not obsessed with her either. Right, guys, we're going to wrap up the show. It's been absolutely fantastic. Scott Edwards, Skeleton Crew seems pointless to the Mandoverse story, but it's connected somehow. Look, Skeleton Crew is literally Kennedy's baby. It's obvious. So it's going to be shit, like all the other stuff that she's greenlit. This has been Movies TV Mad. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I will see you tomorrow, either live or in a pre-recorded video. Don't forget Movies TV Mad on Twitter, where I post bite-sized videos as well during the day, and on my new Instagram, Movies TV Mad X. So basically, thank you everyone for coming in. We've had great conversations in the past hour. I've enjoyed answering your questions. Thanks for the support. Thanks for the free likes. Thanks for coming in, and I will see you again soon. Thank you for your continued support. It's very, very much appreciated. I'll say it again. It's very much appreciated, and I don't take it for granted. So see you again soon, and follow me on the other social media platforms. See you again soon. Bye for now. See you later.